Phew, thank God. Kash Patel's FBI has finally found something to do. For a minute there, I was worried that between the unsolved Epstein questions, the fentanyl crisis, and actual crime in our country, our premier law enforcement agency might be stretched too thin. But no, on Thursday, the FBI agents raided a voter registration group in Ohio. Man, thankfully, America is finally safe from the menace of people helping other people fill out forms. And while I'm being a little funny about this is a real look at the actual links, the actual actions that this administration is taking to allegedly rig the midterms. And these agents raided the Cleveland offices of the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. It's a pro-democracy group, and their great crime is registering voters and knocking on doors to get out the vote. And it wasn't just that office. Agents fanned out across Ohio, going to people's homes, some of them carrying subpoenas demanding access to phones and laptops. Others, they showed up without a warrant at all, just a badge and a demand. And when asked about it, board member Prentice Haney said that the agents were, quote, basically trying to fish for information using, quote, straight up intimidation tactics. In his words, they went to civil rights leaders' front doors and asked them on their own porches whether or not they were committing voter fraud. They asked in front of their children. They followed people to work. They followed people to school in front of their children. Yes, they followed people to work and school. There is nothing funny about that. And before anybody tries to tell me this is a rogue field office, or I already see all the Republicans saying, see, there's fraud. No evidence. And look at the run sheet. Look at this. Agents knocking on election officials' homes in Wisconsin, ballots seized in Georgia and Arizona, the DOJ subpoenaing Fulton County for the personal contact information of election workers, the same kind of election workers who were terrorized into hiding after 2020. This is a coordinated national project run through Keystone Kash Patel's FBI. And the whole goal is to put fear into anyone that touches the election that Emperor Trump might lose. Trump has spent months, he's pre-screaming fraud about elections that haven't even happened yet. He did it about California's primary while his own endorsed candidates were leading. He is inventing a fantasy and then building it into reality. And his lie needs evidence. And when the evidence doesn't exist, you send armed goons to a nonprofit in Cleveland and hope it scares everyone. And look, I'll say this one with some authority because I work in massive data sets. I live in spreadsheets. You know what actual fraud looks like in the data? It looks like a rounding error inside of another rounding error. Study after study, audit after audit, Republican-led recounts included, find fraud at rates so microscopic that you need a court order and a magnifying glass to locate single cases. Hell, the biggest election interference that has been allegedly found came from Elon Musk. But there is no fraud epidemic hiding in Cleveland. And think about our FBI. Think about their capacity. The Epstein files still can't seem to finish those. Nobody's going to jail there. Questions about Butler, foggier by the week. But a nonprofit in Ohio that registers voters in a swing state. Boom. Located, raided, staffed, surveilled, doors knocked statewide all in a single day. Funny how these resources just materialize the second the target is somebody helping regular people vote. And let's clear up what Ohio Organizing Collaborative actually does, because the FBI sure won't. They register voters. They help people get to the polls. In a democracy, that is necessary work. Yet Donald Trump wants fewer people voting, period. He wants people so scared that they won't defy him. They want groups like that to quit. They want their staff to quit, the volunteers to stay home, and the people funding them to get nervous. They want every voter registration drive in every swing state to look at Ohio and go, I don't know if it's worth it. They want it difficult for voters to turn out, period. And intimidation, it doesn't have to have a conviction. It just has to make voting feel more dangerous. And honestly, in a dark way, it kind of tells you something beautiful. They are terrified of you voting. And that's not something a confident political movement does. They don't send federal agents after the clipboard people. You only do that when you've seen the same polling that everybody else has, that Donald Trump cannot hold on to power after November. So respond. Respond like it is November. Check your registration right now, vote.org. It takes 90 something seconds. Get your ID sorted out, including if your state requires real ID, go do that now. Bring your passport if you can. Make your plan to vote today. Vote early if you can, and if you are one of those people that has to vote by mail, send the ballot back earlier. Walk it in yourself. Make sure that your vote is so locked in that no raid, no subpoena, and no purge can touch it. And then keep after your election officials. Get them to speak early and often about how they are safeguarding against interference, because you want to make it really awkward if any of them have to stand up and say, "I didn't do my job," when Trump begs them. Look, they're going to play intimidation. So what do we play? Turnout. Their side is requiring fear. Ours requires showing up. And do me a favor, subscribe to us while you're at it, because when the FBI starts treating even voter registration like a crime scene, someone like us, like all the independent media out there, they've got to say it out loud, and they've got to say it every single day. And people like me, we aren't going anywhere.